Hey friends, it's Lori with the blog wagonwheelhomestead.com. Welcome back to my outdoor canning kitchen. Today we are going to be preserving some cabbage in the form of sauerkraut. So I grow a lot of cabbage, broccoli, and cauliflower in my garden, and I'll try to remember to link the video here of how I grow that. So one of the secrets to growing great organic cabbage is planting it early, because then the cabbage worms aren't as apt to eat it because they only are active above 90 degrees. So we planted most of this cabbage in the early part of May here in Nebraska. We grow in zone 4B, and we had some of them that split. So that's going to happen if you get rain, which we haven't had, or you get a little extra water or whatever. When the cabbage gets fully ripe and past ripe, what happens is it will split. And so that's totally fine. It just means that it's not going to keep as long, okay? You can harvest cabbage, put it in the drawer of your refrigerator. In a plastic bag is probably best to keep it from dehydrating in your refrigerator a little bit. You can put it in there and it will keep for months. So you don't have to preserve all your cabbage into sauerkraut, but if you have some that are split, they aren't going to last as long. And so I have some that are split and then just some other ones that were big enough to harvest. We took them to farmers market, sold a bunch of them, and these are the ones that's left. So we're going to be making sauerkraut today. And what you do for making sauerkraut is very simple. It's an old-fashioned way of preserving, which I love, anything old-fashioned. And what you're going to do is we're just going to chop this up. Now you can get kraut cutters that shred the cabbage really finely. I don't mind if my cabbage is just a little bit thicker in my kraut. So we're just going to cut this up with a knife the old-fashioned way. We are going to massage some salt into it, get it to make its own juice, and we're going to put it in this old-fashioned crock that I have. Now you can purchase these new, which is what I did, because a lot of times the crocks that you will find at auctions and garage sales and what have you are cracked, okay? So this is a 5-gallon crock. It's very heavy, okay? And I will try to put a link in the description box below as to where you can get one of these. And then this is the weight that I have, okay, that keeps the cabbage pushed down into its own juice. That's the key, okay? You don't want it exposed to the air, the cabbage exposed to the air, because otherwise it will mold. And what you're going to do is with just 2 ingredients, cabbage and salt, we are going to ferment this for a couple of weeks, and it's going to be like its own pickled food, okay? So back in the day, what they would have done is in the fall like this, they would have made sauerkraut, and they would have put this crock down in their cellar and just left it there all winter. And obviously the longer it was there, the more sour the kraut became, but it was perfectly preserved because of the salt. Okay, it's a way of pickling through the process of fermentation. So that's what we're going to do. And then here's my lid, okay, that goes on top of this. And I'll show you this later, but sometimes I even put a little bit of plastic wrap on the top to keep fruit flies. Sometimes there's fruit flies in my house this time of year just because we have so much produce that we're handling all the time. And so keep the fruit flies from getting in there, because sometimes that can make the top of your kraut nasty. By the way, if that happens, and it's happened to me several times, don't fret, your kraut is not ruined. Just scoop off the top couple inches of your kraut that might not look as appealing, throw it away, and underneath will be this beautiful, amazing sauerkraut. So, but we are going to try to prevent that with a little bit of plastic wrap here on top of our crock. So if you don't have a crock, you can use a gallon jar to do this same process. I find that it works a little bit better in a crock because they are dark. Okay, they don't let light in, but it works just fine even in a quart jar. Okay, these are some quart jars I have for some other canning I'm going to do. You can do it, probably a wide mouth would be better, but you can do it in a quart jar as well, and you can get little fermentation weights. I'll try to link some in the description box below. You can put the fermentation weights on the top, and they help to hold the cabbage down into its own juice made from the salt, okay? And that prevents any mold from happening on the top. Again, if that happens, you get a little mold or a little bit of nastiness on the top, if you will, you can just scrape that part off, and what's underneath will be beautiful and amazing. And we like to eat sauerkraut several different ways. So one is fresh. We love it in 2 or 3 weeks, this kraut is going to be done. And we love to just put it in the refrigerator and eat it fresh. It is so good. And the texture of fresh sauerkraut is amazing. If you've never had fresh sauerkraut, you've got to try it. We love it on tacos. We like it plain. And by the way, it's one of the most probiotic rich foods that you will ever eat because it's fermented and it's raw, okay? And so if you're looking to get more probiotics and more vitamins in your diet, make some sauerkraut, especially if you can do it with organic homegrown cabbage. Make some sauerkraut and enjoy it many different ways. We also like to put it on pizza. We like to make Reuben pizza. We like to make Reuben sandwiches. I have put it with hamburger and inside bread dough and made like runzes or little cabbage pockets, if you will. And we also like to eat it with hot dogs. So we try to get a few hot dogs made from our own beef that we raise. And when we get the hot dogs made, then we like to put them in a crock pot or even on the stove in a pan with some sauerkraut, and it just gives both of them such an amazing flavor. So we are actually going to can this in about 3 weeks, most of it. We'll keep some of it fresh in the fridge, but I'm also going to show you how to heat it up and can it. Now, it's not as probiotic rich when you can it, of course, because it's not raw any longer, it's heated. But you only have to process it through a boiling water bath canner, and then you have it all year in your pantry for lots of different things. So one other quick note, if you're into preserving cabbage, you can harvest, not obviously split heads, but a good head of cabbage like this one. This is a perfect head of cabbage. You can pull them up, if you have a root cellar, you can pull them up by the root, okay, and hang them upside down by the root. So leave the root attached. Hang them upside down by the root in your root cellar, and they will keep all winter long. And you know, you might have to peel off the outside 2 or 3 layers of leaves, but that cabbage will keep without any extra preservation all winter long in your cellar. Now, our homestead is one that we built from scratch, and that means it's still in process. So I do not have a cellar yet. When we build our cellar, I'll be sure to take you along and show you how, and then together we will be doing some of the preservation specific for the cellar, okay? I just wanted to mention that to you. If you have a cellar or have access to one, you can grow your cabbage and just hang it up like that for the winter. Obviously, it won't be as probiotic rich or as tasty as if you make it into kraut, but you can slice it and make cabbage steaks. You can put it in soups, all kinds of things. Something else you can do is you can slice this cabbage into big chunks, just cut it in big chunks, blanch it, so that means just cook it in a boiling water or a steamer for like 3 minutes. Take it out, let it cool, and put it in bags and freeze it. Okay, you can have that for soups. You can also take the blanched cabbage, put it on the trays of your food dehydrator, dry it for a few hours overnight until it's fully dry, and then throw that back into soups and it will rehydrate as well. So lots of different ways to preserve cabbage, but today specifically we're going to talk about making sauerkraut. So let's get started. So for these heads that are split, I am just going to shave off some of the excess on the outside. Again, I have plenty of cabbage, so I'm not worried about wasting a little bit. Obviously, we don't want to be wasteful, okay, but I want to just make sure that I've got good, clean cabbage on the inside. And it doesn't hurt to rinse these as well if you want to rinse them before you start. So I'm just going to take off the outer leaves. I'm going to cut off the end. And it helps to have a really good knife to do this with. Just kind of clean it up. The split ones are a little harder to do, but again, making kraut is a great way to use them up. Okay, I'm going to get rid of my scraps here. I try to keep a bucket handy for scraps for chickens or compost or anything like that. We end up with a lot of scraps in preservation season. Okay, we're just going to cut this in half. And what you'll see in a cabbage is it has the little core right there. And that can just be tough. It's probably fine. I mean, it's not going to hurt you, but I'm just going to cut that out on both halves. Okay, and there it it is. It just went in so far. So there's the cord cabbage. All right, now we're gonna start chopping. So I just slice it really thinly is all. So as thin as possible. And you know, it's made with layers of leaves, right? That's what cabbage is. And so then it falls apart into little pieces. I have these little bees here that are really excited. They're very interested in what I'm doing. They're hoping that they will find some kind of fruit juice to eat. We've been processing grapes and apples and all kinds of things down here, so eventually the little bees find us. But I tell you, it's so much better doing your canning outside than inside where it's hot. And by the way, sometimes there's flies inside as well. There's just no way around it this time of year. Okay, so here's what we have. Okay, and we're just gonna throw this right into the crock. Simple as that. When you get about 4 or 5 inches of cabbage in your crock, then we're gonna add some salt, and the salt is gonna bring out the juice in the cabbage, and it's gonna make its own juice. Salt acts also as the preservative for this and the pickling agent. And I like to use Redmond real salt whenever possible. I keep a large bucket in bulk of Redmond real salt in my pantry, which I get from Azure Standard, and I will link that also in the description box below. Azure Standard is a great place to purchase bulk groceries. And if salt is not a part of your food storage, it certainly should be, because salt is a very necessary thing for your body, obviously in limited quantities. Okay, we're just going to take that whole half a head, throw it right in. Just kind of break it up a little bit if needed. Okay. And this is heavy, but I'll see if I can show you. There it is, okay? So it's about that deep, about 4 or 5 inches deep. And obviously it's gonna pack down a lot. But we're going to take our Redmond real salt, and I'm gonna just sprinkle on probably 3 teaspoons. Now, typically I don't measure, okay? I realize that sometimes it's more helpful for you if I can give you exact measurements, but I just sprinkle some on. I can tell you back in the old days, they did not measure either most of the time, right? So I'm just gonna give that 2 or 3 teaspoons, and I'm just massaging the kraut. You can get a kraut stomper, they're called. I have never had one. So this is what I do, and then I will get another kitchen utensil to stomp this some more as it gets more full. I moved this to the ground because it's getting heavy. So usually I use like the little pusher thing for my applesauce maker, but I cannot find it right now. I think the kids must have hidden it somewhere. I think they were probably playing with it. So anyway, I'm gonna use a jar. Hopefully I don't break it. Anyway, what you wanna do, I've just continued to layer cabbage and salt, okay? And I've got a couple, let's see, 2 more heads of cabbage to go. But I just want to show you what I do. So after every 4 or 5 inches of cabbage, and I sprinkle the salt on it, then you just stomp it. Okay? And it stomps way down. And it will eventually make its own juice. This takes a little while. Okay? This takes just a little while to do, but it's very well worth it. jar and pulling some of the cabbage to the middle because I don't want to break my jar. Homesteading is all about using what you have and making it work. Okay, and I don't know if you'll be able to see this or not, but it's getting a lot juicier. It's a lot wetter. And the salt takes a little time to really bring out the juice. So I just stomp it well after I add each batch of cabbage. Don't be afraid to add a little more salt if you feel like it needs it. It's not going to be too salty. It's going to be just fine. And just keep stomping it and then add some more cabbage, and the stuff in the bottom will keep juicing just with the salt on it. The more you stomp it, and man, you can fit a lot of cabbage in a crock like this. A lot of sauerkraut. Okay, so I've added the last 2 heads of cabbage. I have more cabbage in the garden, but I want to wait and eat it fresh because these were all the ones that were split. So I'm going to just add some more salt. I think that was about 4 teaspoons. And stomp it a while. Then I will also probably just leave it set and let it finish juicing, and then come back and put the weight on top and get it all tucked away for a couple of weeks. If it's really warm in your house, you could check it after a week. You know, you just can eat some and decide if it's as sour as you want it. This also helps to finish breaking up any clumps. And so that is helpful. It's just really simple to slice it with a knife, stomp it into some salt, and then let it sit. Okay, so hopefully you can see this. If I push down on this, it's all liquid. Okay, so now I'm gonna get my little board. This has been oiled. I probably should have oiled it again, but I think it will be fine. Okay, so you just oil it with mineral oil. I think I did that the first time, or you know, any food safe oil would be fine, right? Okay, so I'm just gonna put this in here, and when you push down on it, see the liquid that comes up through? So you want to make sure that all of your cabbage, if possible, is down below the line. Okay, so clean up the edges. Again, you can scrape it off later, but I'm trying to show you how to do it nice and clean. So I want this to stay down underneath, and I found that sometimes it floats a little bit, you know, and then the tops of this can get nasty. So I'm actually going to put one of my little cheese weights on here. I'm going to wrap it in plastic wrap, and so it will hold this down a little bit more. Okay, and so I'll go get the stuff to do that, and then yeah, we'll let it set for a couple weeks. Okay, I found what I usually use to stomp this kraut. So this works really well. It's just, like I said, it's just the pusher to my applesauce maker, okay? But again, use what you have, okay? And this cheese weight is actually an old tractor weight that my husband found, and we cleaned it all up. And it weighs, I think, like 8 to 10 pounds. Anyway, I just wrapped it in plastic wrap, so obviously it doesn't react with the salt. And it's just gonna keep all that down below the level of your liquid. Now, you would do the same thing in a quart jar or a gallon jar as well. Okay, and then I'm just going to put plastic wrap over the top, because once again, there might be a fruit fly or two in my house in the next 2 weeks, because this is peak preserving season. And by the way, you can fill this all the way up if you want. You could also add to it probably, so we'll see if I have cabbage I have to do that with. Anyways, sealing it all down tight, and then, you know, you can just put the lid on kind of careful like that, just to help keep the light out. And yeah, I'll set it in the corner of my basement, and we'll check on it in a couple of weeks. All right, it's been 3 weeks to the day since we started this sauerkraut, and I brought it back outside. It's just been in on my basement floor. It's about 70 to 72 degrees in my basement. And so that's where it's been for 3 weeks. And so we're gonna take a look, see what it looks looks like. It's a really windy day today, so I apologize for that. All right, it smells really good, and I've got bees and wasps that are helping me. Okay, here's my weight that was keeping my board down. Okay, and I had wrapped it in plastic wrap. I think I showed you that, so I'm just gonna pull that out. And pull out our board. Okay, and take a look at our kraut. It looks really good. It does. It looks so good, and it smells good. It smells sour, and it just kind of has a light rubbery texture. Super yummy. Looks really, really good. So what I'm gonna do is put some of this into quart jars, probably about 4 quarts in our fridge, so that I have some for fresh eating. And then I'm going to heat up the rest of it, both the kraut and the liquid, all of it, heat it up, and then pack it into jars, and we're gonna water bath can it, and it will be shelf stable in our pantry for many months to come. The best way to deal with sauerkraut, honestly, when you're packing it in a jar is with your hands. So just wash your hands really well and then pack your kraut in there. It's honestly the fastest way. And you want to make sure that it's covered in juice, even though this is going to go in your refrigerator and you're going to put a lid on it. So definitely scoop up some of that really good probiotic juice. Put over the top of it, just like that. And there's your sauerkraut, and it will keep in your fridge for, you know, quite a long time. Although we usually eat it fairly quick just because we love the texture of it raw. And obviously the probiotics in it are the best when it's raw as well. Doing this down here on the ground because this crock is so heavy, and I definitely don't want to risk wasting any of this if it were to fall off the table or something. So the rest is all going to go into this pot. It will have a nice sour smell. It's not going to taste bad. It's a beautiful way of preserving. Okay, we'll just rinse that out, and it can be ready for another batch, or to wait till next year, or to ferment something else. And we're going to heat this up carefully and kind of slowly, and when it's at a nice simmer, then we're going to pack it into jars. Okay, there it is. When it's at a nice simmer, we're going to pack it into jars and run it through the canner. It's a little harder to pack hot kraut into jars because it's hot. And again, you want to push it down so that it will kind of be under its own juice. And if you smash it down, sometimes what I will do is just take a spoon upside down like this when it's hot, and then just use that to smash it down in, and you would be amazed at how much kraut you can get in a jar. You really won't get as many quarts as you think, but in each quart will be a lot of kraut, so it's all good. And you want to leave it about a 1/2 inch below the very top of the jar. Leave about a 1/2 inch of head space. Then you want to wipe the rim of each jar. Make sure that it's clean and it doesn't have any sauerkraut or anything stuck to it. And we're going to just stick our lids on. By the way, I ended up with 6.5 quarts plus 4 quarts in the refrigerator, so 10.5 quarts total. We're just going to put these rings on, tighten them down, and as you can see, I'm working on some apples today as well. And so I'm going to run these all through the canner for 20 minutes in just the boiling water bath canner, and they will be, then they'll seal and they'll be ready to go on the shelf. Well, thanks for coming along with me today as we finished up our kraut that we started 3 weeks ago. And I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that you will try other fermented foods and that you will learn how to can and preserve them so that they can benefit your family and that they can be something that you can rely on to cook from, even during the cold winter months when you cannot be raising vegetables as easily. So anyways, if you want to see more videos on how to can, how to preserve, how to grow your own food and cook from scratch, be sure to like and subscribe to this channel, and we'll see you in the next video.